My name is David S. Bell, MD, and I first got involved with this illness in 1986. Those were the first patients that I saw and began to study. What is ironic is that the first four girls I'm trained as a pediatrician, so the first four girls I saw with this illness were daughters of my office manager. And she basically says, "You can't avoid us anymore. You've got to start looking at this." And, and it's true. I was a subspecialist in behavior disorders of adolescents. And I think the day before I saw the first four girls, my office manager, I said, "How can you call this a behavior disorder? Because these people aren't behavior disorder, they're sick." And so that's how I got into it. And I've never been able to get away from it. It's interesting. I went to practice pediatrics in a small town, and I said, "Well, it's a shame that I wasted 5 years of training on behavior disorders of children, where when I'm going to go and work in a small town, and probably I'll never see any behavior disorders." And what an what an irony it turns out to be. But here I am, and I have no regrets. Okay, so the research now is it's beginning to get really serious, and that makes me so happy. For years, it was trivialized, and maybe to a certain extent, it still is. But now there are conferences like this one. There are groups like the Open Medicine Foundation that have just, turned the research community on its head, and they're doing great work. I almost wish that instead of being a clinician, I was a research person. I can only do so much in the description of the illness because research is now getting off to a serious degree, and that is so exciting. Just nice. Well, the message of hope is that because the research is churning out studies that really mean something, I can I can say that because the studies that I've published are essentially meaningless. They're descriptions, and nobody cares for the descriptions of an illness anymore. They may have had some importance in the development, but now the research is really going in a direction that's exciting. The things that we heard this morning, it's just very exciting. And I believe that it's true, but it's not what I had hoped for 20 years ago. I remember saying to a number of my early patients that this is such a distinctive illness that it will be solved quickly. And that didn't happen. But I now think that it will be solved quickly with the proteomics, metabolomics, these studies that are being presented, they're very exciting. So I think that it's got to result in physicians becoming more involved. Who knows?
David, if you were sitting in front of a donor who had $20 million, what would you say to him?
I would say give 19.75 million $1 million to the OMF, and that will leave you with $750,000, which should last you. It'll get you through, the fast food lanes at McDonald's or wherever. But, well, first of all, it's because this illness has been plagued with not enough research money. It's an illness that is very severe. It drives patients into little corners. I know that this is one of the points that I always get choked up on. That 15 years ago, one of my most severe adolescents took her own life. And there was no reason for it. She was getting better, and she would have continued to get better with no treatment. I tried safe things, but it didn't alter anything. But she was getting better. And then one day, first day back at school, kids were teasing her because they said that she had AIDS or HIV. And of course she didn't. And she took her life that day. So it's just one of those things that's very, it's impossible to explain. Why did this happen? Why did it happen? She was a young teenager. Young teenagers, I think that's where I got my emotions from. Or else maybe I'm regressing into the young teenage emotional whatever. But that was inexcusable. So the other day, one of my first patients, who was 14, knocked on the door, and she was with a young kid. And the young kid was about 14, and she has ME/CFS. So it goes through generations. I've had several families where the latest generation is now coming down with it. And that's inexcusable. Sorry, I get choked up talking about specifically that young lady who took her own life. And but not many agencies really care. They go through the paperwork and they collect the donations and they do this and that, but do they really have a hold on their care? It's rare you find anybody that really cares.